ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापहा।
As we gather here today, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment and rapid evolution of technology. Also, the growing demands of industry call for us to rethink and revamp our teaching methodologies. This program is designed to equip us with innovative strategies that can transform our classroom into dynamic learning environments. Over the next few days, we will explore various techniques, integrate technology effectively, various experimental learning approaches that enhance student engagement and understanding. Now I request our head of the mechanical department, Mr. Ajinkya Satam sir, to say an objective of program.
Good afternoon. Myself, Mr. Ajinkya Satam, HOD of Department of Mechanical Engineering, RIT Polytechnic, Pune. I welcome all the participants from various engineering institutes for this 3 days FDP on innovative teaching learning practices in engineering. Respected Principal Sir, Dr. K.H.Munde sir, all faculty members, coordinators, and all participants. We have organized this 3-day FDP by taking into consideration of many perspectives of our technical teachers community. Today, we stand at the intersection of tradition and transformation in engineering education. As we navigate an increasingly complex and fast-paced world, the need for innovative teaching and learning practices has never been more practice. Engineering is not just about formula and calculations, it's about problem solving, creativity, and collaboration. Prepare, to prepare our students for the challenges they will face in their careers, we must embrace pedagogical strategies that foster critical thinking and adaptability. Innovative practices such as project-based learning, deep classrooms, and interdisciplinary collaboration are reshaping that how we approach the education. These methods encourage active engagement and real-world application, allowing students to connect theoretical knowledge with practical experience. Moreover, the integration of technology in our teaching methods through virtual labs, simulations, and online platforms open up a world of possibilities. It not only enhances accessibility, but also prepares our students to thrive in a digital landscape. Let us also remember the importance of fostering an inclusive environment that values diverse perspectives. By encouraging collaboration among the students from various backgrounds, we cultivate creative innovation, essential traits in today's. As we look to the future, let's commit to continue evolving our teaching practices, fostering curiosity, and nurturing the next generation of engineers who will shape our world. Lastly, I would like to thank our respected principal sir for his guidance and support to organize this FDP. Also, I would like to thank you FDP coordinators and faculty members to make this FDP successful. Last but not the least, thanks to all participants who have joined this FDP from various engineering institutes from different corners of the Maharashtra. And thank you, our guest speaker, for this program. Thank you very much.
Uh, am I audible?
Yes, sir, audible.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Thank you for. I might not take much of time. The guest is already his way for delivering or empowering all of us for how the innovative teaching learning practices in engineering and all the teaching systems, as we are saying, rightly pointed out by Ajinkya. On this 3 days FDP program in association with GH Raisoni College of Engineering and Management under the AICT Margadarshan scheme, we are conducting this program. They are our mentors for developing the institute in all respects. I thank to GH Raisoni principal, management, and AICT also for helping us for excelling our systems, processes, documentations, academics, and overall development in the college in view of developing the students at large for in all the aspects. Definitely, as said by the Ajinkya, we are in the middle. Let us accept that. As everyone is changed, we are seeing that IIT Madras has got the 10,000 students for one course online. So let us to keep ourselves in that space. What we have to do as a teacher? Are we really doing our job in a way by using the technology as a teaching aid for developing us to understand how that teaching learning practices should be more towards the experiential, more towards the group discussions, more towards the experimental conduction, more towards the hands-on practices, more towards the internship, because the chalk and board learning system almost taken part by the all these current systems. Because we are, when we say the students, Hendra sir will be agree with me, as he is a, we have seen last 20 years and many things how the education system had changed, and the part of us as a teacher has changed from the teacher to the facilitator and the counselors. So definitely that training also needed to the teachers, I say, Hendra sir, to do as the facilitator and counselor. And you are the right person, and the rest of the speakers, the Samir sir and the Geeta madam also give us the insight to all our participants how their role is important to see this technological generation, and they want something different every time, and are we giving them? So every teacher has to that. We are teaching, are they learning? That's a big question. So if you ask every time this question, definitely that development process of the teaching learning will start, and we all has to be part of this system. We should not be there, as rightly pointed out by the AICT officials. Banking is there, there is no need of banks. So can it be goes to the education? So challenges and what I say, responsibility both comes hands in hand. So we teachers has to be ready for ourselves, society, students, and the whole overall development of our fraternity. And this, the guest speakers definitely fulfill this, and the ITP has taken this initiative. I congratulate the head of the department, Ajinkya Satam sir, and his whole team, our Dean Academics, GB Patil sir, Coordinator Khernar sir, Co-Coordinator Reddy madam, and whole organizing team. And special thanks to thanks to Anis House, sir, who is a coordinator for this Margadarshan scheme and helping us to do this activity in this larger platform way. And I'll say this 3 days program will give us a new thought process to all of us, and we'll be in a new way to deal with the students ready for that. So, without taking much of time, I directly say the guest speaker who will throw more light on this topic and make us aware what the next job ready for us in view of students or in the betterment of student community. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our respected guest, Dr. Vaibhav Hindre, sir, who is working as Deputy Director and Professor in ENTC at G.H. Raisoni College of Engineering and Management. He has handled major responsibilities as Director, Deputy Director, Dean Academics, Head and Chairman Board of Studies for Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. He has completed his PhD from Satyabhama University, Chennai, M.Tech from Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Technological University, Lonere, and Engineering from Pune University. He has developed two MOOCs on international platform Udemy on the topics MATLAB Basics and Programming. His area of research is wireless communication, MIMO systems, software-defined radio, artificial intelligence in wireless communication. He is approved PhD guide from Savitribai Phule University and has guided 7 PhD students. He has published 56 research articles in research journals. He has 5 books published, 4 copyrights and 4 patents to his credit. He is fellow membership of Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, life membership of Indian Society for Technical Education and member of Communication Society and International Association of Engineering. Now we request to hear their insights and engage in thoughts provoking innovative ideas in teaching learning practices. Now I request our respected guest, Dr. Vaibhav Hendre sir, to start the session.
Thank you, madam. I'll just share my screen before I start. Well, the screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes,
Yeah, and I'm audible perfectly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, very good afternoon to one and all present here for this faculty development program on innovative teaching and learning methodologies. First of all, I would like to thanks the Rajarambapu Institute of Technology, the principal Dr. Munde sir, and the entire organizing team for organizing this faculty development program because we all are now preparing for the new era of teaching and learning process, and that is what also expected in the outcome-based education, which was defined by the NBA and all the accreditation process. So my today's topic is focusing on the exact theme of the FDP, that is innovative teaching and learning and a skill-based approach. So initially, I'll focus on the innovative teaching learning methodologies and how a skill-based approach is really needed in the engineering education. So we will focus on that particular part. Now, why this session is required? The most of the answer for this question is already given by Dr. Munde sir in his introductory speech and the brief given by the coordinator of this particular event, particular FDP. But once again, why this session? I understand that the faculty members who have joined are from Polytechnic and Engineering institutes, right? And we have a habit to attend the faculty development programs in the online mode since the pandemic, and how we attend them. We also follow the methods that are really followed by the students. We have just do the login in the FDP and we are doing all our daily routine task, right? So definitely this session is only made for the faculty members of the engineering institutes, and I request simply or my humble request to all the faculty members, this is very useful session for all of us, right? We are just sharing our experiences. You might also have a good experience in the teaching field. Let us share our experiences with each other so that we can develop many innovative teaching and learning methodologies. So please be attentive. This session will try to give you many insights about the innovative teaching learning methods, how we can embed the technology inside the teaching, and how it is beneficial to the students for whom we are doing all this particular job. So before going to our session, I would like to ask this simple question to all the faculty members, whether the stakeholders of all the educational institutes are really happy. Let us take an example that an educational institute, its first stakeholder is student. Are students really happy with the entire education system that we run in this country? We should ask this question to the student. We should ask these questions to the parent, which is another stakeholder. Let us ask this question to the industry, where we would like to place our student, the job opportunities, whether industries are satisfied with the curriculum that we are developing, the methodologies that we are putting, and in the end, whether as a teacher are we really happy with this entire education system. And we'll find out when we ask these questions to all the stakeholders, you will come to know that neither students are happy, nor parents are happy, not industry is happy, and even being a teacher, we are also not happy. So why we are not happy? Because there are many things we need to understand regarding the teaching methodology so that we could able to satisfy our stakeholder. Our main aim is to satisfy the stakeholders of the educational institute, which is industry, parent, and student. And that's why the main important role which we have to play together as a teacher in order to correct this entire educational system. We usually make a blame game that the institute is not providing the facility, institute is not providing this much, institute is not providing that much, students are not attending the lectures, students are not responding, parents are reluctant, industry is doing something different. So instead of going to that particular blame game, as a teacher, how we can change this entire system, and we will try to understand some of the mechanisms in this particular session, which will be very much helpful as a teacher, as a stakeholder of this institute, the biggest backbone of this educational institute, and which will also try to cater the needs of other stakeholders such as industry, parents, and the students. Now, I would like to begin my session by giving this opening remark, which is also highlighted by Dr. Munde sir in his speech, that India's higher technical education system is on the threshold of major institutional reforms. And we are witnessing this particular institutional reforms with the implementation of NEP 2020, which is National Education Policy 2020, which has been started implementing from the previous academic year 23-24 in all autonomous institutes, and from the present academic year 24-25 to the all affiliated institutes, at least in Maharashtra and in many states of the country. So with respect to this NEP 2020, it is the right time to envision a bright future and create the desired ecosystem to develop the most important backbone of the education system, that is teacher, you and me, the entire fraternity of the teachers. So let us speak something about us and how we can develop this education system. So this is a brief outline of my presentation, where we will initially focus on what is the process of teaching, how we can focus on the learner, what are the innovative teaching learning processes. We need to think about the present generation, we call it as the generation Z. What are the requirements of the generation Z? What are the various tools that we can use for online teaching or even teaching in the classrooms, how we can make it effective. What is the importance of the skill development, which are the different skills we should focus while designing our curriculum or while carrying out the delivery, the technical skills, the NEP requirement for the skill development, and in the end, I will take one case study where I will try to focus how the teaching learning we can effectively enhance by using a skill-based approach. So that is what the outline of my presentation. Now, let us begin this session with a quote by Soren Kierkegaard. He says that we should learn from the learner. The instructions begins when you, the teacher, learn from the learner. Put yourself in his place so that you may understand what he learns and the way he understands it. So say very simply, we must understand what the learner want, what a student want, and accordingly, if we develop our teaching methodologies, we can be a great teacher. So we have to place ourselves in the learner's position. What is the level of that learner? What are the expectations from the learner? And accordingly, if you design our teaching methodology, we can create the wonders in this particular educational institutes. So if I focus on the phases of teaching, because we all are teachers, so we all know all these particular phases of teaching, and we experience, we implement all these phases of teaching. But as far as teaching is concerned, we follow these three stages of teaching. First stage one is called as pre-active stage, where we have to define or fix up the goals and the contents of the delivery, which we call as the design of the curriculum. That is what the pre-active stage. Then the decision about the strategies, which type of strategy, which type of teaching methodology, the innovative teaching methods, the pedagogical initiatives that we can impart, that we can do in the pre-active stage, that is stage one. Then stage two is called as interactive stage, where we have to do the diagnosis of the learner, that the level of the learner, what are the expectations of the learner, right? And accordingly, we have to design the actions and the reactions. Why this is important? Because it is usual practice that we follow since many years, that the university designs a curriculum for us, or the MSBT board designs a curriculum for us. But the learners, they are different based upon the different institutes. The learner which is present in the government institute, the government polytechnic, or the government engineering institute, is little different than the institutes who are working in the rural area. So one single syllabus we cannot impart at all stages of institutes, because the learners are of at a different level. But we have the system which defines this common syllabus for all the institutes. But if the syllabus is common, how we can think the teaching methodologies which can match depending upon the learner's requirement. So that is what covered in the interactive stage called as stage 2. Once we have decided the actions and reactions, then next we have to do the delivery. So delivery also happens in stage 2. Once the delivery had happened, then stage 3 is a post-active stage. That is the feedback stage. So we have to create the appropriate testing devices, the feedback mechanism, and we have to test whether whatever the actions and reactions that we have delivered, whether there has been really reached to the learner, and the learners have been benefited for all these particular activities or not. So these are three different stages or phases we follow in the entire teaching learning process. Now, while doing the teaching, these four phases or three phases, we have to remember, or every teacher need to remember, by four different P's. First P is we have to prepare. Second P, we have to present. Third P, we have to do the practice. And then last P is the performance. So all these four P's are very important as far as any teaching methodology or teaching learning process is concerned. Now, what is good teaching? One that is well planned and where activities are interrelated to each other. Now, as Dr. Munde sir mentioned that many of us, we follow a chalk and talk method, where we have our own notes which have been created years back, right? And that same yellow pages notes we carry with us, and we deliver a chalk and talk method, which is not much suitable and which could not be called as a good teaching methods, right? Which the teaching, it should be well planned, where activities are interrelated to each other. That means activity based learning is the main important part nowadays. It should happen in a good teaching category. We have to go beyond the recall of information, because ancient times we see that the teaching is a mugging. We ask the students to mug up, to remember and recall in the examination. But nowadays, we have to think beyond the recall of information, beyond the conventional examination methods. One that provide a learning experience or situation that will ensure the understanding, application, and critical thinking. So we don't want to prepare our student exam oriented. We should prepare them as knowledge oriented. They should understand the concept, they should apply the concept, they should carry out certain critical thinking, and accordingly we need to develop our teaching learning methodologies. One where the learner is stimulated to think, reason and apply, and it rarely happen in our class. In our class, general situation is that we visit the class, we deliver the things, we take the examination, and we try to evaluate the learner. But we do not stimulate the thought process of the student. We do not ask the questions to the learner by which their thought process gets, they should start thinking on certain parameter, on certain technique, and they should try to apply that particular thing which is not still embedded in the curriculum or in the methodologies that we follow in the teaching. So we need to focus on such techniques, and then that particular teaching is called as a good teaching method. Now, why we need to focus teaching on the learner? Even in the accreditation process, we call it as outcome based education. So what is outcome based education? Any process what we define, we need to find out its outcome, and the outcome we can understand looking at to the learner. Now how learner is is defined? Basically every learner, it has a different rates of learning. For example, some of the learners they are very slow, some of the learners they are average, and some of the learners they are very fast learners. So we need to think all types of learners present in the class, and we need to cater our teaching methodology even for slow learners and even for fast learners. So we need to understand the learning style, the sensory style, the intuitiveness, the visual and auditory effect, the inductive or deductive methodologies, active or reflective, sequential or global. This word seems to be very hard, but when we go on implementing it with some examples, you will find out that we can able to cater the all categories of the learners in the class. And we need to define, we need to develop our approaches to the learning for depending upon the rates of the learner. We have to we have to find out the pace of the intellectual development so that we could cater the slow learners as well as the fast learners. Now, most of the times we face a difficulty in identifying the slow learners or defining the solutions or the teaching methodologies to the slow learners. That's why in the entire accreditation process defined by NBA, a much more weightage is given to the teaching methodologies or innovative teaching learning pedagogies that you develop both for slow learners and the fast learners. Now, what are the problems of the slow learners? Slow learners are of different types. Sometimes the slow learner is a learner whose intelligent quotient is very low, or he may have a problem of the language. He could not able to understand the language of teaching. It might be possible that his prerequisite knowledge is very less, and you could not able he could not able to understand the things because his previous concepts are not very much clear. There may be possibility of lack of motivation for learning in cognitive domain. There is another problem that the learning environment at the home for that learner is not suitable, which is not providing much encouragement for learning, or the learning environment in the hostel, in the college is not that much supportive, so that the student becomes a slow learner. The learner does not know the goal, the lack of the goals, the lack of the self-efficacy, the confidence levels, they are very low in the slow learners. So, and another very important point, that is there is a mismatch between the teaching style of the teacher and the learning style of the student. So we need to focus on all these aspects while defining our teaching learning methodologies, so that a slow learner can also understand the concepts and they can able to prepare themselves according to the teaching style that we decide. That's why in the innovative teaching learning method, we need to cater the problems of these slow learners. Nowadays, because of the digital world, there are so many deviations that also influences the slow learners, or they create the slow learners. The influences created by the social media, the telephone, cell phone, the television, movies, the negative influences of the peer group, the enjoyment in the peer group, the bad habits, the smoking and other habits created into the student, family problems, social political issues, all these deviations, they have profound influences on the learners or the students when intrinsic motivation towards learning is lacking, and we need to develop some innovative teaching learning methodology which will try to cater all these deviations, and we will try to understand in this session such sort of innovative teaching learning methods. Now, this is known by almost all the teacher fraternity that how learners retain 10% what they read, 20% what they hear, 30% what they see, 50% what they see and hear, 70% what they say as they talk, and 90% what they say as they do a think. So while developing a teaching learning method, our aim is to reach to this 90% where student will able to do something after our teaching process. Most of the times our teaching learning processes, they end at this stage of 30%, where we teach them, they read, they hear, they see, right? But they retain only 30% part of that. Now we need to develop a teaching learning methodology which will try to address what they say as they talk and what they say as they do a thing after the entire teaching learning process over. So we need to focus on such sort of innovative teaching learning pedagogies. Now these are some of the domains of learning: cognitive domain, experiential domain, affective domain. And we have to develop our teaching methodology which will satisfy these three domains of learning. So some teaching methodology for cognitive learning, some teaching methodology for experiential learning, and some teaching methodology for affective learning. What is the ultimate aim? Ultimate aim is knowledge, skill, and the attitude, so that a student will become a best learner through your teaching learning process. Now, this is a general diagram you will find out as a teaching learning process in many manuals or in many documents. What is teaching learning process? First, we do the planning. Second, we do the implementation. Third, we do a monitoring and regulation mechanism. Then we provide the facilities and the support for the teaching learning. We carried out the industry institute interaction because we need to satisfy the stakeholder as an industry, because the student should become employable, and that's why the industry institute interaction plays very important role in the teaching learning process. We carried out the audits and we take the feedback from the stakeholder, and based upon these audits and feedback, again we enhance the teaching learning process. So that is what the entire process of teaching learning. We need to think now how we can create the innovations in this entire process of teaching and learning. Now, these are some of the blended teaching learning approach. Since ancient age, we follow this particular approach, chalk and talk, and still today 70 to 80% teachers, they just follow this particular teaching learning approach, that is chalk and talk, giving assignment, conducting class test, and in some case carrying out peer teaching. Peer teaching means we ask the senior students to teach the junior students. So this sort of conventional methods that we are following. Now, how we can top up the different teaching methodologies apart from this conventional method? The one that we always do is practical demos, because in the practical sessions we conduct the practical demos, we give the hands-on training to the student. But apart from that, we also have industrial visits, field visits. We also take the use of ICT based activities such as presentation and animations. So all this part we are presently doing in our teaching learning method. We also have a project based learning. I'll define this project based learning in more detail, but nowadays we map PBL as mini projects, internships, and the projects that the students are doing in the final year. The true meaning of projects based learning is a little bit different, that I will explain you in the next slide. But we do these particular activities. The students are doing mini project, we guide them. The students are doing internship. Nowadays internship is mandatory by AICT, so students are doing the internships where experiential learning they can that is happening in this part. Then in some cases we carried out the critical analysis. Some of the colleges they conduct open house, the modification in research methodology, the e-resources they have been provided for teaching learning method. Students are doing the participation in exhibitions through the virtual round. Evaluation, nowadays students are participating in many hackathons. Smart India Hackathon, a good initiative by Government of India, where students got a ample of opportunity to participate in the competition, in the exhibition, and where the creativity, the appreciation of the creativity is happening over there. So our teaching learning approach, which is conventional till this third part, now we need to enrich in this particular last three parts so that the actual creativity will get developed inside the student. So accordingly, we need to develop our teaching learning methodology. Now, what are the different innovative approaches in teaching learning process? The first, project based learning. Now, what is basically the concepts of project based learning? Generally, many of the faculty members they understand that PBL means give some project and students are doing their final year project, they call it as PBL. No. What is project based learning? Suppose I'm teaching one particular subject, right? Then while teaching that subject, I must see what are the applications of the concepts that I'm teaching in that particular subject. Design the projects based upon that concepts and ask the students to do that project in each and every subject. So as an assignment, generally we give them a question and we ask them to write the answers to that particular question. So instead of giving the assignments, you can give some small projects. Maybe a student can perform that project in a day, two, or in a week, and ask them to do a very small task, which is application of the concepts that you are teaching in your subject. That is basically called as a project based learning. So experience to work on live project. Give any small part of the live project related to your subject and ask them to implement it and give some credits marks to that particular evaluation. Nowadays all autonomous institutes they have started following this particular PBL, where the conventional assignments they have converted into the PBL. And some of the institutes, even in Pune or in our institute also, we give a more weightage to the projects done by the student in the regular subject, and the weightage of the end-sem exam is slowly reduced, and we are imparting the new methods where students will do the project. We will evaluate them their knowledge of the subject in the project that they have done, and accordingly they will get evaluated. So that is called as a project based learning, so an innovative approach. Second thing, nowadays there are many online teaching learning platforms available, such as NPTEL, MOOCs on the various platforms such as Udemy, Coursera, NPTEL. So the access to the knowledge database is available to the students, and if you are teaching your subject by taking the help of these NPTEL videos, that could be also become an innovative approach in teaching learning. You should promote the students that they should join these MOOC courses and they should learn some part of the course through this particular MOOC, where evaluations are also carried out through this particular MOOC process. Another innovative approach is alumni and industry expert sessions, because industry they know what they want and we should embed the same thing in our curriculum, but we understand there are many limitations to embed such things in our curriculum. So it's better practices that we should invite the industry experts, the alumni, and we should ask them to conduct the sessions on the recent industry trends and skills, so that the students will get something beyond the curriculum which is really needed in the industry. We should attend the faculty development programs where the knowledge and skill we should develop for the faculty. Value added programs we should conduct for the student, where the awareness should be carried out for the current trends, and accordingly the skills need to be imparted to the students and as well as to the teachers. Modeling and simulation tools, which will definitely give a very large practical knowledge, so we can embed our design in such a way that if there are 10 experiments defined in the syllabus, why should not we add 2 or 3 more experience which are focusing on the modeling and simulation tools, and we should try to give more practical exposure beyond the curriculum to the students. The advanced equipment and the software we should purchase, or we should use the free versions of such softwares, so that student will come to know that these are the advanced equipment, advanced softwares available, where they can develop some projects on that particular software and increase their skill levels. This is very important, that as I mentioned that we have a habit to use the notes that we have prepared 10 years back, and the same notes we are using many years. So we should review the teaching material, and according to the new technologies, the new tools, we should update our teaching material every year, every time when we teach that particular subject. Something new we should add into our entire teaching material, so that students will get something new, and you will also learn something new, some new ways of over there. So these are some of the innovative approaches that usually we are following in teaching learning. Now, all these approaches, I can divide them into 4 categories. One is called as technology enhanced learning, where we are using the technology for learning purpose. So as I mentioned, the MOOCs, simulation tools, virtual lab, online learning platform, video capturing system, where these are the methods which uses ICT, information communication technology, for enhancing the learning. Second, I covered project based learning, where industry sponsored project, research project, mini project, sponsored project, and internship, along with subject related projects that you can consider in the project based learning. Then our teaching learning process must have active learning. Active learning, where seminar, webinar, e-learning resources, technical poster presentation, design competition, peer teaching, professional associations, all these activities, activity-based learning, which will try to give an active learning, teaching learning process. Next is experiential, where student will learn through experience. Now, how students will learn through experience? By organizing technical festivals, participation of the student through technical festivals or workshops, FDP, SDP, industrial site visit, internship, industry-based training, all that will give you the experiential learning. So these are 4 different innovative teaching learning approaches which you can embed in your teaching learning process. Now, what is basically innovation in the teaching learning? Let us look at the conventional strategies for innovative teaching learning, which people used to say that these are innovative teaching learning 10 years back. Z to A approach in teaching. That means first tell them something about the application, and from the application come back to the concept. So application to concept, that is called as Z to A approach, which was old or conventional strategy. The concept where what, why, how. Every lecture you can begin with these 3 questions: what you are going to teach, why I should teach you, and how you can teach that particular thing. That what, why, how. It is also a conventional strategy. 50 by 10 approach. That means 50 minutes you can teach, 10 minutes you can interact with the students and try to understand how much they understood about the teaching that you had in your class. Peer teaching, where senior students, they can teach the junior students, and by that way The senior students will also learn and the junior students will also learn. And the activity based learning. So you conduct certain activity and through that activity, the students will understand the concepts. These are all conventional strategies which were earlier called as innovative teaching learning methods. But nowadays, the definition of innovative teaching learning method has been changed. Why it is changed? Because we are serving the Generation Z student. Now, what is Generation Z student? Generation Z student is the student who born generally after 1998, right? And we understand the phases of the technologies which are rapidly changed after 1998. So what is the difference between the Generation Z and we all teacher community? The Generation Z students are more social than us. They generally spend 7.6 hours per day socializing with friends and the family on the social platform area. They are multitaskers. They do many things. They can handle 5 screens at a time, right? Which we are not able because we are not Generation Z. We are not that much aware with the technologies. Generation Z people, most of them, they want to become an entrepreneurs. They are educated. They are philanthropists. They are digital natives. This generation spend 15.4 hours per week on their smartphone. This is very small number. Nowadays, if you see the screen time of the student, daily they are spending 7 to 8 hours on the smartphones, right? So you can see they're very digital savvy. They're interactive. They're tech savvy. They are less focused. This is most important part as far as teachers are concerned. You can see the Z generation, its attention span is less than 8 seconds. They cannot focus, they cannot concentrate on one particular thing for more than 8 seconds. That's why in a class of 1 hour, after 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, their concentration gets lost and they could not able to focus. That is the biggest problem what the Z generation method is, the Z generation students are having. So our teaching methodology, we need to map in such a way that we could keep the attention of Generation Z students in the class so that the real learning will happen. They're really smart as far as the technology is concerned. They know many things compared to a teacher. In earlier days, teacher was the only source of information. Nowadays, for Generation Z, teacher is the last source of the information. Keep it this particular sentence in mind. I'm repeating it. Teacher is the last source of information because lot of informations they are generating from the digital platforms. So it is a big challenge for a teacher to create the attentions between this Generation Z students and to bring them into the classes and increase the attention span in the classroom for the student. Now, for that purpose, we have to create certain teaching strategy for this Generation Z student. So what teaching strategy? First, you have to think digital in all assignments, assessment and activities. Don't give any assignment, assessment as a paper and pen. These students are not interested to write the things on paper with a pen. Try to create digital assignments. Try to create a digital assessment methods, which the most simple example of this digital assignment and assessment method is a Google Classroom, right? We in our institute, all our assignments are given in the Google Classroom. They are assessed in the Google Classroom and the results are also displayed in the Google Classroom because students are very much interested in using this particular digital ways of doing the activities. So there are many such digital ways that I will also tell you in the next slides, but think digital in all assignments, assessment and activities. Next, break the content into short segments. As we understand that their attention span is very, very less. So if you start taking a lecture, right now I have started taking this lecture since last 1 year, and this is the biggest drawback of the online delivery, that I don't know whether you are really listening to me or you are doing your daily routine, just making these things on that because you have to attend this FDP, right? So this strategy is really not correct. We should break the contents into the short segments so that they can digest, their attention span can digest that particular content, then give some refresher, again give some short segment, so that the things becomes interactive and the student will take the maximum benefit of your session. Make information graphical and bite size. So instead of writing down the theory on the PowerPoint presentations, make a graphical representation so that the students attention span you can increase. Rethink how you communicate. Your communication should be also bilateral way. It should not be unilateral. You should ask the questions. You should ask them that they should think something and then they should give the answer. You have to be relevant, provide individual instructions, make an adaptive learning. That means depending upon the learner's requirement, you should develop the method adaptive learning methodologies so that every student in the class they should understand. Use the social media approaches to the learning. These students are very active on the social media, so why can't we use social media as an approach for the learning? Try to send them some informative messages, some informative videos, because they really like to see the videos on the YouTube. So why can't we pass them some YouTube videos? They will click them and they will try to learn. So they are very much interested in the social media. Let us use that social media for teaching learning process. So these are all the strategies that we should implement for this generation Z student. Now it is very easy to tell you that go for this method and then go for this method, but we should also think that what are the resources available. And now I'm going to tell you all these tools which you can use for online teaching or for creating your teaching learning process even in the classroom more interactive. So these are some of the tools that you can note down and then afterwards explore in your teaching learning process. First tool is Edmodo. Edmodo, it creates a learning community using the free social learning platform. So it's a social learning platform where a lot of learning material is available. You can also create your own learning methodology, create some assignment, ask the students to enroll. This platform will try to do the evaluations automatically, and student they really like such sort of platforms where the teaching is happening. Another platform is Nearpod, which is a platform which will find or create the interactive lessons and assignments to share with your student. You can synchronize the student devices and evaluate responses on the fly or with post-session reports. That means you can float an assignment, students will use the same Nearpod and on the fly, that means by sitting at the home, they will try to solve their assignments and you can evaluate them there itself online. So these sort of tools you can start using in your teaching learning method. Another tool is ClassKick. It's a great learning, requires great feedback. This free app shows you what your students are working on. In addition, it gives you a platform to provide a high quality and real-time feedback from the student. Another conventional tools that, as I mentioned, is a Google Classroom, is a very useful tool to give the assignments to the student and to do the evaluations online. Zoom, WebEx, Skype, Adobe Connect, Discord, these are some of the platforms that we can use for the online teaching or to make the teaching with the help of the online tools or the social tools available on the internet. Then if I want to conduct some quizzes or the activity based learning, these are some of the useful online tools such as So Creative, Kahoot, Quizlet, WordWall, CrowdSignal, Formative, Triventi, Verso, Wiser, Purple Mash. If you can just click on this website, growthengineering.co.uk, you will find out 64 amazing free online tools for the teacher, right? And I have taken all these tools from the same website. So you can try and explore any one of these tools so that student will find something interesting is happening in the entire teaching learning process. So these are some of the useful tools. And by taking the innovation, I have developed 2 courses on the Udemy platform. My first course, which I have developed, is on MATLAB basics and programming and in-depth guide for the beginners. It's a 12.5 hours course that I have developed, and it is available on the Udemy platform. And last year I have developed one more course, statistical data analysis using MATLAB. And I'm happy that around 1000 students have enrolled to this particular courses, and my course has reached in 42 countries across the globe. So the students from 42 different countries in this world, they have enrolled for this course, and I could able to reach to this 42 countries all my contents. So these platforms are open, and the teacher can develop their own MOOC courses and can run these particular courses on the various platforms, and you can reach to the different class of the students at international level. So this is also a good opportunity for faculty members to develop their own MOOC, and this is one of the example for development of the MOOC course. Now I'll come down from teaching learning process towards the outcomes of the engineering education, because all our teaching learning processes, what we are defining, the ultimate outcome of this entire process is what the engineering graduate is going to have at the after the completion of their engineering education. Definitely there are 3 outcomes of any engineering education: job, higher studies, and entrepreneur. And accordingly, we have to develop our mechanisms so that the students will get a good job, they may get a good higher study opportunity, and they may become an entrepreneur. And for that purpose, our teaching learning process should provide better opportunities. Now, these are some of the things which are already known by a faculty member, so I'm just skipping this particular part, that what is the eligibility requirement for a job, what are the exams for the higher studies, and what the student should do for entrepreneur. Now, my last point in today's presentation is what are the skills, how skill development is very important, and how our teaching learning process should embed the skill based approach in the entire teaching learning process. We understand what is skill. Skill is the ability to do something well or something with a precision, and we should understand that in our curriculum, in our teaching learning process, whether we are able to impart the skills, that means students will able to do something with a more precision. So we should develop these skills, and that process is called as skill development. What is the necessity of skill development? Definitely there is a survival of the fittest, so that the student who have a good knowledge or good skills will only fit into the market and will get a good job with a good package. We have to the student has to compete with other advanced persons, so they need to develop the skills to come at the higher level to achieve the success and to develop the nation, the other people coming in the field. So that for that purpose, it's a necessity of skill development. Now, what are the skill required? There are 3 types of skills that we should impart into the student: basic and higher cognitive skills, technical and vocational skills, social and behavioral skills. These 3 category of skills we should impart. Now, the skills I can further classify as foundational skill, employability skill, and entrepreneurship skills. Foundational skills are basic and higher cognitive, technical and vocational, social and behavioral. Employability skills are again basic and higher cognitive, technical and vocational, and social. But their correlation between each other, its percentage is very high. And for entrepreneurship, we require a very large social and behavioral aspects along with little technical and basic cognitive levels. 3 basic skills the student must have: core skill, secondary skill, technical skill. Core skill, it is linguistic, imaginary, story writing. Secondary is pitching skill, designing skill and time management, and technical skill is software and hardware. So these are some of the core skills. that everybody knows it. The most important skill that we must develop in the student is nothing but the problem solving skill. So in problem solving skills, the student should be able to identify the problem. They must know the cause of the problem. They must find the alternative solutions to solve that particular problem, select the best alternative solution, implement it so that they could able to solve the identified problem. So some of the teaching learning methods or innovative methods, they should embed the problem solving skills among the student. Now I'll directly come down to the technical skills and how we can identify the technical skill. So one case study that I'm putting over here for one of the branch, and you can similarly repeat the same case study for the various branches. Basically, the national policy NEP 2020, it is also focusing on skill development approach, and they have developed a special task force called as NSDC, National Skill Development Council, which is focusing on this particular skill development. And with respect to that, this skill development case study, which we have already implemented in our institute last 4 to 5 years, we have been implementing this strategy. Being an autonomous institute, we have a flexibility to design our curriculum, and that's why it becomes very easy to implement this skill development approach. A case study that I have taken for my own branch, that is Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering branch. So how we have developed a mechanism of development of the curriculum and the teaching learning methodologies. So first thing what we did is we have tried to identify the career paths available in this domain. So we have just enlisted that students have ample opportunity of jobs in this particular domain. So we identified this sort of domains. Then we also identified where the career opportunities are available for the students, like the public sector companies, the government organizations, private sector companies, research and higher education, and other sectors. Once we have identified the opportunities, we have listed the industries or the companies who are providing the jobs to our student. For example, the public sector and government institutes such as Railway, Army, BSNL, MSAB, DRDO, BARC, ISRO, HL. These are some of the government companies or organizations. They provide opportunity to our student. Then we have enlisted the various sectors in electronics and telecommunication engineering, such as telecom sector, wireless communication sector, and the various opportunities related to that particular sector that we have identified. We have also identified the research organizations and the higher study institutes or the higher education opportunities, and based upon them, we try to map our curriculum with the requirement of this industry, and we have identified the curriculum gaps. After identifying the curriculum gaps, we come to know that the ENTC students have career opportunities in these 5 domains like telecom, embedded system, automation and robotics, software and IT industry, VLSI design. So we focus on these 5 areas where the students, our students, will get a placement opportunity over there. Then we did the list of the companies working in this particular domain. We have taken the feedback from that industry that which are the jobs available for the freshers and which are the skills required in order to get a fresher's job in this particular domain. And we have enlisted all these latest trends and technologies in the domain of embedded system design, in the domain of telecommunication networking, VLSI design, software IT industry, and automation and robotics. And we have enlisted all the skills that industry required in this particular domain. Next job what we did is we try to map these skills with our existing curriculum, and we understand that some of the skills, they got mapped exactly with the subjects in our curriculum, but there are many skills which are not directly get mapped to the curriculum, and we identified them as a curriculum gap, that these are the curriculum gaps that our student, we should impart these skills so that they will become industry ready. Then once identifying this curriculum gap, we have identified the skill sets that the student required. And these are the skill sets that we must impart to the student beyond the curriculum that we have identified. Then we have classified the skill sets in this application area. That if a student want to go into the IoT domain, then these are the skills that students should learn. Embedded, these are the skills. Mobility, these are the skills. Then after mapping these particular skill sets, we have identified that these are the skill sets that we should provide to the student. But before giving these skill sets to the student, we also do the mapping of the skill sets with the faculties. So let us say 30 skill sets we have identified. How many skill sets our own faculty is having? So we have enlisted that faculty X1 is having these skill sets, but they don't have these skill sets. So we identified the needs of the skills required by the faculty, and then we have given the training to the faculty members through the faculty development programs, through the industry training, so that our faculties, they also become skill ready and they should also acquire these recent skills, and they could impart them in their delivery. Second thing what we done, we have, after enhancement this particular skill facilities, we ask the faculty members to develop their own skill development courses, and then we map the skill development courses in the beyond curriculum at second year level, at third year level, at final year level, based upon the interest of the student in that particular area. And we made this particular activity mandatory in our institute. So every semester, our student, they got at least 2 skill sets which are beyond the curriculum, and that will become them industry ready. And nowadays, many of these skill courses, they are conducted by our own faculty members who already got a training from the industry or from the industry persons, and now they are being able to deliver these particular skill sets to the student. So it's a benefit of the faculty members, it's a benefit of the student, it's a benefit of the industry, because industry is getting the required skill sets. And my first slide which I have showed is the satisfaction of the stakeholders. Now in this situation, our students are happy because they are getting the skill sets, our faculty is happy because they are getting opportunity to learn that skill sets, and industry is also happy because they got a trained manpower, a skilled manpower, and naturally the employability of the institute go on increasing. So these are some of the important outcomes of the process that we have implemented, and it shows a significant result in the job placement, in the internship, and in the entrepreneur domain in our institute. So such sort of methodologies that we should follow, we should apply. So this is a very important cartoon. Again, I have downloaded from the website, that what is the outcome of the entire process. It is teacher centric, and as a teacher, we are carrying all these particular tools together. We should be well equipped so that we can deliver the best to the learner that we are intending. So that is what the basic purpose of today's session. Now what is required to be done, this is very important for all the teachers, that how we can implement all these strategies. Definitely not alone, we have to make a special team of teachers or professors coming together for a noble cause of nurturing human values, developing the leaders for the tomorrow. So we should work in team. It is very the teachers don't have a habit to work in team. They create their own individual stand-alone mechanisms. Let us come together, make a team, share the good practices among the teachers, faculty, the faculty teachers fraternity, and try to develop a good leaders for the tomorrow. Make an advisory board to bring the unique knowledge and skills by means of advice and advocacy. Check the malpractices in the education profession. We only discuss about the malpractices, but we don't come forward to solve them. Let us come together, let us come forward, try to solve all these malpractices happening in the education profession. Create the study circles to discuss the variety of topics and enhancing the self-learning. Even research we do not do in groups, we do it alone, and we think that our research idea someone will steal. So this is our mindset. So, but we have to do the research in a group by creating the different study circles. So by that way, we can reform the entire education system in order to serve the better society. So I would like to conclude this session by the great say of Albert Einstein that education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. And this philosophy, if you implement in our teaching learning process, no doubt we can create good teachers, and no doubt we can create the good students, good learners for the futures. So one last thing, take a moment and write down one idea that you learn in this presentation that you plan on implementing in a class you will be teaching in the near future. And then I'll say that I did something in this particular session, and you also did something by attending this particular session. So once again, thank you for the organizers for providing me this opportunity to conduct this session. And if you have any queries, questions related to whatever the contents that I have delivered, the session is open for the discussion. Or if you want to share your own thought process, your own teaching learning methodology, that is also open. We can discuss over here. It's a good platform to exchange our thought process. Yeah, over to the organizers. Or if you have any questions, queries, I'll be happy to answer.
If anyone having any questions, please ask. Okay, thank you, sir, for motivate us with such
Hello.
Yes.
latest trend and technology
Hello.
information about.
Yes, sir. Please ask.
Hello.
Mr. Nilesh Kumar.
Good,
Yes, sir.
good afternoon, sir. I am Nilesh Jakade
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
from MIT Polytechnic, Rotegaon.
Yes, sir.
I would like to just ask how to focus on the some rural students coming from the Marathi medium. They are unable to understand the fluent English. Just we gone to the lecture and started in English.
Sir,
So they are basically facing
yeah.
language problem. I
Yes.
am focusing for the students from Marathi.
Yes. Sir, there are
Please,
many initiatives given by even AICT and the government of India. Even government of India is nowadays focusing the engineering education in the rural language or in your mother tongue, right? So there is no
Yes.
problem. We can teach them in Marathi. Definitely, English is very important because finally, when they will go to the industry, they can't speak in Marathi, right? But for understanding purpose, there are many methods by which you can do the teaching in regional language. AICT has developed many books for the regional language, and you can make them available. These books free of cost. They're available in the digital domain to the student. So for the rural students, you can teach them in the regional language. The basic purpose is that the concept should get clear, but also motivate them that
Yes, sir.
slowly they should switch down to the English, because ultimately in the interviews
Yes.
they need to prepare for the English.
Yes,
Right?
sir, yes. Yes. Because we have to cope up with the whole world.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
we are just limiting the whole engineering knowledge to the our mother tongue.
Yes.
And
It is
they,
very difficult to teach in mother tongue also, because while
yes,
teaching in mother tongue, all our technical words we use in English only, right?
Yes. No, means transforming to two-stroke engine.
Yes, yes.
The word, it is so difficult. So, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, anyone? 1 minute.
Okay, if there is no any question, I think we should stop.
Hello.
Thank you, sir, for motivate us with such a great session. Your guidance regarding curriculum gap analysis, latest trend and technologies, information about job, identification of skill sets requirement was very useful for our participants. The education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Let's equip ourselves to train minds that will innovate, create, and lead. Thank you, sir, and participants for being here. And I look forward to an engaging and fruitful program ahead. Tomorrow, the next session will start at same time. After the all session, full attendance and feedback is given, and depend on that it will be generated. So all are requested to fill and submit a feedback form for today's session. A link of feedback form will be provided in 15 minutes on this group. I announce that this session is ended now. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.